Hello, I'm Brooke Boyke, and I'm a managing director and partner out of BCG's Washington, D.C. office. And I lead our people and organization work in the public sector across North America. And today, I'm excited to be speaking with my friend and colleague, Ashley Grice.
And hi, I'm Ashley Grice. I'm the CEO and a managing director at BCG Brighthouse, which is the global practice of purpose inside of BCG.
So, Ashley, to kick off, we've worked together on a few different projects over the years within the public sector and government organizations to help them reconnect with their purpose. And a common refrain we hear is, we already have a mission. In fact, our mission is prescribed by law. Why are we talking about purpose? And you articulate this so well. Could you tell us what exactly is the difference between a purpose and mission, and how do they complement each other?
Brooke, I'm so glad you bring this up because it is a common theme that I hear executives conflate purpose and mission, and they are very different and they serve very different needs. So mission is what you do. It is how you show up to work and the actions that you carry out every day to meet the needs of all of your many stakeholders. Mission is timely, meaning that it changes with competitive landscape or new management or market shifts. Unlike purpose, which we like to talk about as timeless, purpose is at the intersection of who you are at your very best and what role in the world you play using these particular strengths. So purpose is the marriage of your ethos and your aspiration, and it helps you understand how to make impact in the most authentic way. Quite simply, mission is what keeps you up at night versus purpose, which is what gets you up in the morning, excited to go to work.
That resonates so much with me. And as you know, Ashley, I started my professional career in the Peace Corps, where I was an education volunteer in the Philippines. And I thought about this distinction a lot at the time, even though I didn't currently have the vocabulary words to describe it. But in the Peace Corps, there's a three-pronged mission, which is, roughly speaking, providing technical assistance, promoting a better understanding of Americans abroad, and then promoting a better understanding of the people and the culture of the host country among Americans. And so 2/3 of that is real, soft power cultural exchange. And I knew that mission, and it really spoke to me, and it's why I joined the Peace Corps. But if you asked me at the time, Brooke, why are you here? Why are you living across the globe on a small island in the Pacific? That's not what I would have said. I wouldn't have rattled off those three goals. My answer was I had a really deep desire to help and to share back in a differential way. And I felt like I needed to share the education that I had been so privileged to receive.
What I love about your story is that in that particular case, your purpose and the mission of the company or the organization, they aligned. And that's such a gift. When you're in a situation like that, the energy that you felt towards accomplishing something is incredibly amplified. Mission and purpose, we talk about them as being complementary. And when they're aligned really well, they create massive inspiration. And that is where your discretionary efforts as a human get unleashed. Right? It's often where the work you do or when you work the hardest comes, but you feel the most fulfilled simultaneously.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And, in my conversations with other public servants, I hear very similar themes. And in fact, you see it in the data as well. And so, as you know, BCG partners with the Partnership for Public Service on the best places to work in the federal government, and which tracks employee engagement. And something that we see in the data is within the category of skills mission match, government outperforms the private sector on questions like, my work gives me a feeling of personal accomplishment, and the work I do is important, right? And so you talk a lot about how purpose is really rocket fuel, and that data says to me that purpose could be even more impactful in the public sector where so many people have already self-selected into careers where they want to make a difference.
I think those that have self-selected as wanting to make that dent in the universe have tremendous potential for societal impact. Remember when I was talking about inspiration and discretionary effort, there is data to support that those that are inspired by their jobs versus merely satisfied are over 2 times more productive. And so what do you get from that? You get innovation, you get people who go beyond, you get seeing the bigger picture of impact, you get strong strategic execution. So that sense of inspiration helps you lean into your strategy and be really accomplished on a purposeful agenda. I know you and I have talked about in the past how we've done some work in public service. One that comes to mind when I think about this amplification of mission and amplification of purpose together is work we did for the Integrated Child Development Services in Rajasthan, India. It's a national program that was developed in 1975, I believe, to deliver health and nutrition and early education services to children and birthing mothers. And there is a set of Anganwadi workers who are kind of the pin that keeps this all together. But they're overburdened and they were overworked and didn't really have the voice. And so partially what we did was to say these are self-selected people. These individuals give so much of their lives, but they also need to feel as though that inspiration is quantifiable in the impact that they can make, and it's recognized. And so partially the work we did there was to really elicit the purpose and talk about it, communicate it, give a narrative to it, so that these workers were championed by their communities. And that role that they played, that incredibly vital role, was told through first-person stories and had impact on the health and education of the whole community.
I think that story illustrates the power of purpose so beautifully. You didn't change a lot of things. You didn't do a big operating model redesign. What you did is you took what was already in place and took the people and activated and empowered them, and then just got so much more out of it. So Ashley, a point that you and I talk about a lot is, when might an organization want to examine its purpose? Like what are the circumstances that you would be thinking about this topic and doing something? And I think that the answer we've come to is that it's integral anytime an organization is undergoing a transformation. And boy, isn't this a time of transformation right now, with a presidential administration changing over, with the world looking post-COVID and what might that be like. But it doesn't even need to be that dramatic, right? You work a lot with CEO changeovers in private sector companies, when there's an operating model transformation, a digital transformation, something like that. Can you talk a little bit more about why purpose is so important at inflection points?
I think the way when you talk about inflection point is perfect, because that is really a time of uncertainty for many organizations as they are looking to a different future. And quite honestly, human beings are terrible at dealing with uncertainty. We are literally not wired to handle it very well. And so purpose in this case, it acts as our North Star when we need that kind of guidance. When you think about it from an emotional perspective, it acts as an emotional anchor in times of change, because as human beings, that sense of belonging, knowing where we belong and how we act, is incredibly important. But it also acts as rocket fuel to inspire. Most people are looking for, why does my work matter? And if you're able to say, here's your transformation agenda, here's the clarity of why we need to go there, but here is also why you specifically need to jump on that train and be part of it, because the impact you can make is significant, is incredibly important to getting people motivated.
And building off that, I'd love to wrap by defining a few tangible, tactical things that public sector or government leaders could go do tomorrow to really start thinking about and harnessing a purpose in their organizations. And on the top of my list might be, first is listening, and really making sure that you're speaking to people and you're understanding what's motivating and driving them and speaking to them in their role. And second, explicitly connecting your priorities to both the mission, which is still important, but also that purpose. And communicate, draw the line between the dots for them, and show them how your priorities ladder up to these bigger goals so they have a better understanding of their day-to-day and why it matters. Would you agree with those? And is there anything else you'd add?
I would, and I would say, remember to thoughtfully and holistically execute on purpose. It is not the soft stuff. It's the stuff that you need to do every day to get yourself impact. And it is not enough to have one. You have to do something with it to see the change that you want to see.
Ashley, it's always a great pleasure. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Brooke.